If you got shoulder pain, rotator cuff problems, shoulder impingement, a stiff neck, then thoracic mobility is something that you want to look into. Thoracic mobility refers to the thoracic spine, which is found between your neck and your low back. You basically want to open up your thoracic spine because they provide the foundation for your upper body. Sufficient thoracic mobility is needed in movements like the shoulder press, bench press, push-up, if you're doing any type of yoga, even if you're doing exercises or activities unrelating to weightlifting such as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you're a dancer, basically almost everyone needs to work on the thoracic mobility if they want to feel pretty good in their upper limbs. Those who also work at a desk or in front of a laptop, tablet, or computer all day could also benefit from doing some thoracic mobility work. It's because in those types of jobs, you're kind of forced to be in the same position all day and things can stiffen up as a result of lack of movement. People who usually work office jobs will tend to feel the lack of mobility when they then go and play a sport on the weekend or they then engage in some sort of physical activity. And basically they don't feel as great as they were when they were younger because they aren't as flexible and they can't move as well anymore. Thoracic mobility can be related to your shoulder problems as well as it, like I said before, it provides the foundation for your shoulder and your shoulder blade to move on. Oftentimes people who have rotator cuff problems, shoulder impingement problems, have those problems because they do too much with the shoulder and not enough with their upper back. Basically, it can help to reduce the pain in your shoulder by providing a much more efficient movement pattern for that shoulder to operate in. Even if you're dealing with issues such as tennis elbow or golfer's elbow, you can benefit from thoracic mobility. There have been studies that have been published showing that yes, thoracic mobility work can improve stuff like tennis elbow. Improving your thoracic mobility does require daily commitment to doing your exercises, and generally you'll have to be doing these exercises for 6 to 8 weeks in order for it to increase your baseline movement capabilities. And what I mean by baseline is I mean that basically without having to warm up, you have full range of motion throughout your thoracic spine. Today we'll be working the thoracic spine in 3 different ranges of motion. So we'll be working in rotation, extension, and flexion. So that's pretty much all the different motions that you can be doing for the thoracic spine. The first exercise that we'll be doing today is for thoracic extension. You could do this on a chair, sofa, bench, or bed. So I'm going to be using a bench today. Let's take a look. This first exercise is called the lat box stretch. It's also known as the thoracic extension stretch. Traditionally, this is done pretty passively, but we're going to add an active component into it. We're going to do what's called a PNF stretch, which is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. So first, what we're going to do is make sure our bench is set up nice and stable, and we're going to be placing our elbows on the bench. Now, in terms of width of distance, go as narrow as you can comfortably go. Generally speaking, about shoulder width apart with your elbows is pretty good. From there, you're going to kind of go on your knees, and you're going to make sure you're not actually sitting back on your heels because we do need that height to act as leverage for the stretch. From there, you can have your hands together, you can have them apart, whatever's more comfortable for you. I prefer to have my hands together, but you don't need to do that. And from there, you're just going to lean forwards, having your head clear that bench, and then you're going to move your upper back into extension. So you should see a nice arch in your upper back. And you're going to just stretch out for about 5 seconds. You're going to feel this in either the upper back up here, or you might even feel this in your latissimus dorsi muscle as well. Now, after about 5 seconds or so, what you're going to do is you're going to take your arms, you're going to drive them downwards into the bench, okay? So my forearms, I'm going to push down. But as you'll notice, when I'm doing that, and you can tell from my voice that I'm straining pretty hard, I'm pushing as hard as I can. I'm not actually moving though. So this is where the isometric contraction kicks in. And I'm holding that for about 7 seconds or so. And once I let go, I'm gonna relax, and you'll see that I actually got quite a bit deeper with that stretch. And so what happens is, what we're doing is we're taking advantage of a reflex where we contract and then we relax, and that actually deepens the range of motion that we have available. So we're going to go for another contraction here. I'm going to push down as hard as I can with my hands. I'm going to hold that for up to 7 seconds, making sure I'm breathing. And when I relax, I could go a little bit deeper. Okay? If you're feeling any type of pinching in the shoulders or discomfort in the shoulders, all you got to do is go a little bit wider with your hands, okay? But go as narrow as possible without feeling that shoulder strain sensation. I'm gonna go for one more here. I'm gonna push down as hard as I can, hold for 7 seconds. And then I'm going to let go, and I'm nearly touching the floor with my head. And there we go. Generally speaking, you'll be doing about 4 to 6 repetitions of the PNF lat box stretch. And that's because that's about how much it takes for you to reach your current anatomical end range. What I mean by that is you pretty much stop doing the exercise once you hit that full range, and you know you hit your full range because after doing the contraction relaxation, you don't get any deeper. If you find that you're still pretty high up while you're doing that exercise, you can't get any deeper, that's okay. Tomorrow you're probably gonna get a little bit more, and the day after even more. And what you'll notice is on a week-to-week basis that your thoracic extension will improve progressively every single time you do it. Next, we're going to be working on the exact opposite range of motion, which is thoracic flexion. And for this exercise, you don't really need any equipment at all. So thoracic flexion is the same kind of range of motion that is observed when you're kind of in a hunched position. And don't get me wrong, just because you're hunched in your job all day or you feel like you have already a hunched posture, you can still benefit greatly from thoracic flexion exercises. Thoracic flexion tends to be highly underrated as a range of motion to train. You actually want to train all your ranges of motion so that you have full control over everything. If you tend to feel you have like a tight back or you feel like you have your movement restricted, this exercise will benefit you greatly as it'll open up your range. This is the exercise that I call the armadillo stretch, just because I like to visualize like I'm an armadillo. I'm just trying to flex my back as far as possible. Some of you out there might have also heard that thoracic flexion or any type of flexion is pretty bad for your back. Don't listen to that. Sure, there are some conditions that will kind of get aggravated, like a disc herniation, but if you don't have a disc herniation, honestly, thoracic flexion is almost always going to be beneficial for you. Have yourself seated on the floor, and you're just going to bend your knees so that you can have something to grab onto with your hands. I'm going to grab underneath with my arms until my hands are locked together, and this is just to provide a better stabilization point. From there, I'm going to just kind of lean back with my upper body, and as you can see, my upper back will start curling up into a ball, and to help promote that, I'm going to look down with my head, just like that. During this stretch, you'll feel the upper back muscles just kind of pull apart. You might even feel your erector spinae muscles, which run along the column of your vertebrae all the way up. You might feel those muscles stretch as well. You might even feel a bit of nerve tension stretch depending on how flexible your nerves are, which is okay to feel a nice soft stretch in. So for this exercise, you're going to make sure you're breathing, look down, curl up into a ball with that upper back. And you're going to hold this exercise for about 30 seconds or so, making sure that with each breath, you're just kind of trying to internalize and tell your body to relax. For the armadillo stretch, we'll be aiming for 30-second holds. We'll be doing 3 repetitions, and you'll be wanting to do this daily. You can take about 30-second break in between, but what I like to do is I like to just do the previous exercise and kind of alternate between the two. All right, let's get started with the last exercise, which is going to focus on thoracic rotation. This last exercise is called the Sphinx thoracic rotation exercise. And to do it, all you're going to do is sit on your heels to start, and then you're going to place your hands right in front of your knees. From there, you're going to go into this position because what it does is it forces your lumbar spine or your low back to flex. And that's a good thing because it's going to help us isolate the rotation to our thoracic spine or upper and mid backs so that we can kind of just isolate the movement. From here, you're going to place one hand behind your head and you're going to just rotate as far back as possible. So what you're aiming for is that your chest is aiming to rotate about 45 degrees away from the floor. Okay, if this is 0 degrees here, this is 45 degrees, and that's full range of motion. What you're also aiming to do is you're going to make sure you're not leaning sideways while you're doing this, because that kind of is cheating your way there. And you're going to do about 10 to 12 repetitions of this. When you're doing this exercise, it's fine to just return back to neutral, but if you want, you can actually add a little bit of opposite rotation going on just to train a larger range of motion. So just going back and forth. After about 10 to 12 repetitions, you'll actually do the opposite side, and you'll just do 3 sets of each side. All right, so that wraps up our 3 foundational movements for improving your thoracic mobility. We start off with some pretty basic exercises, and chances are you could probably progress from these exercises in about 3 to 4 weeks. If you're looking for more advanced exercises, let me know in the comments below, and I can send you a link from our exercise database of some more difficult movements you can do. Also, if you want to see a part 2 of this video where we go through those movements together, let me know in the comments below as well. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.